It is the breakfast wrap, ever so slightly delayed. It is still breakfast, so you can still have the wrap in question. You don't have to have a different one. But ultimately, we found out that they're digging up Man Island, and also all the places where we're able to park are also being dug up. So it's all going on out there, right the way along the Strand. So yeah, the first bit of traffic and travel on the breakfast wrap this morning is indeed outside there. So if you come into Man Island, I'd recommend adding about another 10 minutes with everything that's going on. Yeah, or don't.
Get the train.
With everything that's going on. It is a lot going on. We've got Beth back from the United States. We've got Craig Hannon in there as well. And lots of you have been on. Someone has said in here, the Grim Sleeper has said change the name to the dinner wrap. I think that's a bit unnecessary. As it sort of pops up there.
You're fuming with that, aren't you?
Oh, I am fuming, yeah. I am fuming.
He wants to try sitting on the Strand for 20 minutes, trying to navigate
getting in and seeing how it's going. Someone's putting it that Craig is currently driving on pavements to bring his hot takes. That's at the Anfield Wrap.
Yes.
And that might have been Ash, or maybe it was Tom. So yeah, delayed kick-off to really bring the reality to the World Cup vibes in there as well. That's the way in which it is. No traffic problems across the whole of continental America for Infantino, given he just appears in a cloud of sulphur, says Paul Goulbourne, wherever it is that he goes. LFC Adam has said, isn't there an abnormal amount of roadworks across all of Merseyside right now, or am I imagining it? So I'm on the AA traffic website, and I've got to be honest, like the whole of Liverpool is just a red line. Currently all around Anfield's a red line, where we are is a red line, Kensington red line. It's a nightmare on Edge Lane. You will not be surprised to learn.
Can confirm, I've just been there.
You can confirm. Islington, horrendous.
Egberth and Mossy Hill, you've got a lot going on. Stay away.
It is. No, I think it is. It's quite something at the minute. I don't know if this is a nationwide thing. Obviously, get in touch as we're working through on the traffic and the travel. We're going to hear from Beth. Now, we were going to do jingles today, but John is at a networking event because he has other jobs at the Anfield Wrap, I hasten to add. So he's been doing that instead. So we've got no John, so we'll sort the jingles out tomorrow. So you've got another day to get more jingles in. John at theanfieldwrap.com. If you've got any jingles for Pal, you can sort all of that out. What else have we got coming up as well? We've got Martin Fitzgerald talking about a live show he's doing in Liverpool, and we've also got a clip from the gutter. We'll be talking about what Liverpool are up to. I've got a mini quiz for Beth and Craig, and for you as well. By all means, you can play along too.
This was not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. No, it's only come in this morning because it's me asking you about something that's broken overnight. Now, Beth, because you're across the news, you may well know the answer. I know the wee man won't. So you may well know the answer. So that is to come anyway. But first and foremost, Beth, you've been over. You were over in the continental America, full stop, because I know you split between Canada and the US, crossing that particular border. How was it? Did you have, first and foremost, did you just have a good time?
I had a great time.
Because I know you were a bit and ahhing before you went.
I was a little bit apprehensive, and I think obviously, I mean, it's the same now before any major tournament. There's niggles and there's things in the news in the weeks leading up to it that I think detracts from the prospect of it being a really great football tournament at the end of the day. But my experience while I was out there was exactly that. It was a great football tournament. I was lucky enough to go to 3 cities. So I did 2 in the US, Seattle and LA. And then probably spent most of my time, had a couple of separate trips to Vancouver, which is probably up there with my new favourite cities. I absolutely loved Vancouver. I thought it was it was a great place, and LA and Seattle were great as well. But yeah, Vancouver was lovely, and it was just a really, everywhere that I went, it was such a joyous experience, really. And I think you almost, especially getting to watch Canada play in Canada, to watch a host nation play at home, and you see the amount of joy that it can bring, and I think you forget almost how big the World Cup is sometimes, and then you go and you see what it does to every single participating nation. And even if sort of Brazil were playing in America and I was in Vancouver, the Brazilian community there just absolutely put on a massive show and a party, and every single bar, every single cafe was showing whichever match was on. So no, it was a great experience. Very lucky to have got the opportunity to go, and yeah, hopefully the football continues to entertain.
Hopefully the football does continue to entertain. England ended up probably creating the game of the tournament so far the other night. It was it had it all, including mad injuries to Jordan Henderson, which I just
Wild.
think it is wild. Poor Jordan on the one hand, but on the other hand, it is just funny. Sadly, unfortunately, he's got a bad wrist injury. It's fine, but it's nothing terminal. Let's be crystal clear. I'm sure he's deeply annoyed and possibly mildly embarrassed, if we're all honest about it. But it was, I thought it was a good day of World Cup football, that as well, because I thought Haaland versus Brazil was also something genuinely quite special in terms of just sort of seeing that across the board. To me, it really felt like a big, because the last 16 comes after the last 32. Normally it's the first knockout round, but it's not been this time out. But it really felt like a moment where the knockouts, I thought, sort of genuinely arrived, and you were like, oh God, this is serious business.
Yeah, absolutely. And two teams and two nations that genuinely just enjoying themselves as well. I think Norway, with the row that we've talked about, with just their show of their own fan culture and their own sort of country's ways of doing things around football, I've loved that throughout the tournament. Actually, just sort of seeing the little moments from each of the countries and the way in which they celebrate these games and these moments. And Haaland at the end with the drum and all of that, brilliant. He was just excellent. The goal was great. It was just so Haaland to do it to Brazil. I even loved Neymar coming on and scoring a penalty, and him and the goalkeeper having that bit. Just it was so pantomime, but
the goalkeeper's save, by the way, from the ricochet.
Yeah,
it's one of the greatest saves I've ever seen in my life.
It's unbelievable. And then
he's not looking at his hand until because he's got to look over his shoulder until the very moment he basically puts his hand on the ball. I just think it was just such a good save.
Yeah, it was. And you start damning with being praised when you just talk about Haaland, because they've got so many good footballers there, and I think Oscar Bob's been impressive. I think just all over the pitch you're looking at them and thinking this is actually a proper team that could go far. So I'm made up to beat Brazil, and then England. They're through, and I'm happy for them, Neil, or whatever.
That's the spirit. No, it looks like. I mean, it doesn't look like it was the case in the previous round against Congo. Beth, Kane, and now secondly Bellingham are the way home. The wide players are going to be rotated support acts. Going to literally get to see that live. But what they also got to show was the determination to fight for their lives. A lot of heading it clear from Dan Burn in the last 15 minutes or so, which I just couldn't understand why the Mexicans kept lumping it into the box, given the fact that it was quite clear what England's response to that was going to be, which was to have the biggest man in the World Cup head it as far as he humanly possibly could, over and over. But putting that to one side, I thought it just felt like the sort of win that feels like two wins. It can, you come away feeling as though you've got a squared win, and they, no one has to get carried away on the one hand, but on the other hand, that stuff really, really resonates, and it's nice to see people having a nice time. Yeah,
I think Tuchel said, didn't he, after the game, even going into it, it hadn't felt like a last 16 match, and certainly afterwards, the magnitude of what it meant and the celebrations, it felt more significant, and it is the kind of win that if England do by some miracle go on to win it, people will look back and say, that's the moment really where they laid down a marker. So yeah, I mean, I know obviously a lot of Liverpool fans and a lot of people from this region have a bit of a complicated relationship with the national team. I'm sort of in the camp where I want them to do well, but I'm not obviously invested in it emotionally in anywhere near the same way that I am Liverpool. But equally, I think, like you say, that the level of sort of the real battling spirit sort of typified by Dan Burn, and all of the players. I thought Jed Spence was excellent when he came on as well. All of the subs did well, but I think you want a national team, I guess, to make the nation proud, to have the country feel like they can get behind them, and I think this iteration of England are that. Obviously still for some people that still isn't enough, I guess, to make you invest in them, and that is absolutely fine. But I think well, I think it's interesting the way you framed that before, because I think for some people there's a political thing, for some people there's a regional thing. I think that regional things and political things could be linked. But when I wrote in the book Transform, which people should buy, by the way, one of the things when I came up to, when I mentioned sort of, because I didn't just write it about Jurgen Klopp, I wrote it about almost everything that was in my head. But one of the things that I sort of pointed out is that
emotional energy is a thing. Like, one of the reasons why I literally look at, and doing what we do here, I literally look at international breaks either as opportunities for us to do tours, or alternatively just have a break.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed dipping in and out of this World Cup and watching the games that I'm interested in, but I've also enjoyed the fact that I fundamentally don't care.
Yeah.
I want to see wonderful things, and I want to get grabbed by a story like Haaland and Norway beating Brazil, but I just, the idea of the emotion, people who've got the idea of being able to do 38 league games, but I think it is just different if you support Liverpool or Man United or a massive club that go, like, I'd struggle to get up for this if I was an Arsenal supporter, even if I'd always loved England off the season that you've just had, because I'd just be like, lads, I'm knackered. And I think that, I do think that's because sometimes we want to be a bit more dramatic and act as though it's hugely political, which for a number of people it may well be, but I do, and it is to an extent for me, but a big part of it genuinely is. So I was almost pleased to see loads of people who love England be pleased.
Yeah.
Like, as an observer sort of way. Billy Grant's been great all over doing loads of stuff. He does Brentford for us. But I'm like, great, Billy loves this.
Yeah.
He builds his year around it. He's been excited about it for ages because he's got the emotional energy for it.
Yeah, I think that is a massive thing. And saw an England fan on Twitter say, when was the last time that anyone celebrated like that with the club? And there were quite a few replies saying when Virgil van Dijk headed one in against Everton. But I think you're totally right. I think for clubs like Liverpool, like Manchester United, Manchester City, clubs that are successful, have historically been successful, you expend so much. I mean, everyone expends emotional energy following their clubs, of course, but in terms of the incredible highs that you get to experience when you support a club like that, I think, anything from an international stage pales in comparison, really. A lot of fans whose teams are maybe lower down the pyramid, this is their opportunity, I guess, to experience glory that we've all been fortunate enough to experience at club level. They get to experience it on international level, which is great. Like you say, it's nice to see people having a good time. It's nice to see all of the little bits and bobs that come out of it. That Harry Kane interview was tremendous. I think it's just,
he'd have been within his rights to say, can we just pack this in now?
Let me go and have a Strepsil and I'll come back to you. So I completely agree, and I think in a way that's what's quite nice about it is quite often, I find watching Liverpool a deeply unenjoyable experience, whether it's certainly when before I worked in it, when I was watching it a lot as a fan, you can't enjoy it, a lot of the time, because the stakes are so high, it's so intense. And so actually it's quite nice that, like I say, I want England to do well, but it's not going to ruin my week necessarily if England get knocked out. So it is quite nice to watch things and just sort of take it for face value. And
football feeling like test match cricket is something I'm banging favour of. And it doesn't happen enough, and it certainly doesn't happen enough where Liverpool are concerned. Craig, last night we get Spain through, which was a fucking relief.
Appalling game of football.
It was, but I think Portugal just sort of should try to score a goal. But it's difficult because they've effectively got a tribute act to a former great playing centre forward.
It's insane because it feels like the last two tournaments I've watched it with Portugal, it's been this.
And now it's like, whoa!
And now it's got it, and I just... It's really frustrating, actually, when you're talking about watching football games where you don't really care what happens. What's really frustrating is you see a game like Portugal and Spain, you sit down, you think that's going to be brilliant, like two brilliant teams. You look at Portugal and across, it's got so much quality. But you're right, it's like it's focused through the lens of yesterday's man firmly, who still feels
it's as 2 days ago at this point, Craig.
Yeah.
Last week's man,
last generation. But in his head, he still can be today's, and that's a massive problem. And you're looking at Martinez and you're thinking, I'd love you to show some balls, the kind of balls that he didn't show in the Euros. Like you've got another opportunity here, but he just doesn't. He's got Gonzalo Ramos on the bench, and he just sits there. He doesn't bring him on, and you've still got fucking Ronaldo toiling up top. And then Moreno coming on and scoring the goal. I think you're sort of watching it thinking, I'm made up here. That's how I felt anyway.
I celebrated.
I'm made up because
it's also a good goal, which was pleasing.
It was a good goal, and but it was a moment that meant that we didn't have to endure another 30 minutes of that game, and it felt right. Like the good team get to go through, and the team that haven't really given it anything really in terms of in terms of what you would expect when you look at the lineup. If you got to the lineup before you got to Ronaldo, you'd be looking and going, oh, this is a belter. And then it gets to Ronaldo and like, I know how this game's going to be played out. I know how it's going to be all focused on him. It's frustrating.
It's got, for me, what's really striking about it, Beth, first and foremost, let's be clear, he could actually have a role to play coming on for 20s here and there, which would also possibly involve scoring big goals. But the team is built to theoretically platform him, but he can't do anything until you got him sort of 12, 15 yards out, and even then he'd be best served with a header. It's such a weird way to build a football team. I'm genuinely surprised the other players have put up with it. I'm surprised there has been more talk of more disquiet and more players saying, what on earth are we doing here? Because it's there. It could be Bruno Fernandes's last World Cup.
Bernardo Silva's
last World Cup, Bruno Fernandes's last World Cup. And they're all carrying this totem that literally is like a totem. It's like he's made out of fucking wood.
Yeah. I think there was a little bit of aggro, wasn't there, with was it Vitinha or João Neves? I can't remember. They sort of blur into one, those two.
Just two boss little fellas in the middle of the park.
It was one of João Vitinha.
Yeah.
Earlier in the tournament sort of said something like he's just another player, and I think he actually, he wasn't meaning it as a slight. He was sort of saying he's part of the team, whatever, blah blah blah. And all of the Ronaldo fanboys sort of jumped on it, and I think again that just shows it's just crazy. And I actually hadn't realised until the tournament started, to be honest, how good that Portugal team is. So many components of it. I mean, they have João Vitinha in midfield, which alongside Bruno, it was the best midfield at the tournament, isn't it? On paper, 100%. They've got brilliant fullback. They've got so much quality.
The fullbacks are Cancelo and Mendes, and yes, there's 9 years between them, but there was 18 months where Cancelo looked like the best right back in the world, and Mendes looks like the best left back in the world.
Yeah, they've got a good goalkeeper. They've got Ruben Diaz, who I know has dropped off a little bit, but still a very good centre half. So yeah, I think, and I saw an interview with Ronaldo after the match last night, and he sort of said something like, "Oh, well, I've won the Euros, and that's basically as good." Which I'm not, discrediting that. There's lots of England fans who can only dream of winning the Euros. It's a huge achievement, obviously, to do that. But just the way it almost like he's tried to diminish what the World Cup is, despite the fact that, it has quite clearly been his ambition to get that one over the line. I just think there's just so much sort of poetic justice in the fact that Messi is sort of just having the tournament of his life, but just going about his business in a very understated way, just banging in loads of goals. And then Ronaldo is made this big thing. I mean, it's like the other day. Who did he play in the rounds of 32? Was it? I can't
remember.
Can't remember who they beat. And it was like he was getting subbed off, and he genuinely looked like he was
Croatia. They were hanging against Croatia.
Yes, that was it. And he looked like he was genuinely considering turning around and being like, I'm not coming off.
I think they're fed up. I think there's a moment where he scores and there's no one going towards him to celebrate earlier in the tournament, and then someone else scores and they're all there, and you're like, I would be fed up because as you say, you've got a few players there who potentially it's their last chance at winning this, and yet it all has to be about him. Even the interview that you mentioned there, Beth, I was watching that, I was just like, come on, have some self-respect. Think beyond your own ego.
Whopper.
Yeah, but then
it's like, but you've thought he's a whopper for years, and he's done other whopperish things, and then there's also the allegations, frankly, as well, which sort of filters into this that remain present. But in so many ways, he just comes over like a whopper, and then at every opportunity these days, when he's given the opportunity to either prove or disprove that, he goes, "If you think I'm a whopper, watch this. I'm going to double down on it."
There's a way to make your mark and then leave moments and tournaments like this in a way that people can very easily forget aspects of the Whopper. We're not going to say they forget all of them, but the parts of it on a pitch with a nice, graceful way to end. And this is not that, and he is not that. But then so many times when you see these players of this caliber, to get to that level, they've had to have that ego, they've had to have that arrogance, that they've had to be a whopper, and he's 100% one.
I think the thing is as well, he scores a fantastic goal. It ends up being offside. I can't remember, it was against Croatia. Was it? Yeah. As you can tell, I've blotted that game out completely. But the finish is outstanding. It's actually probably, it's similar to the goal that Messi scored as well. But he is marginally offside. But you sort of think, like you said, he can still have a role to play. He can still, be capable of doing the odd thing. But he's more likely to do that if he's coming on for 20 minutes and hasn't been sort of ambling around for nearly 90 minutes looking like he hasn't got a clue. So yeah, I think it's a shame for Portugal. I think if you're Bruno Fernandes, if you're Bernardo Silva, you are fuming. And yeah, I mean, it's probably a relief to some of them that Roberto Martinez is
the two of them
is out. Yeah,
the two of them could well be out and go from there. Last thing is Belgium beating the United States, Craig, which just managed to become really funny, and I feel really sorry for loads of American supporters because prior all the bollocks, everyone was like, "Oh, they do well as hosts. Pochettino's nice. They seem like a nice set of lads," and they managed to go from that to effectively the team everybody wants to see get beat off the back of, I think it's Infantino more than it's anything else. It's FIFA, it's Infantino. The very fact that the President of the United States feels the need to insert himself in every scenario, but I think it's just entirely this fucking knobhead running FIFA, and he's absolutely made the Americans, between the two of them, they made the Americans look like the bad guys to such an extent.
Because they've looked like a really fun and strong football team in this tournament. Like, I was looking at them and like Pochettino, and you're buying into the fact that they're at home and just the World Cup in general. I actually said a few days ago in the office, I said, like, I'm surprised at how little sort of visibility we've seen around Trump, because like I just thought he'd be front and centre of everything, but isn't it brilliant? Hold my beer. Because I mean, the whole thing was an absolute farce, and like, even in the White House talking about it, like I was like, this is like a comedy sketch. Like it doesn't, none of it ever feels like real life with him, but this like just within football, and then how it's turned, and then FIFA's statement and everything, and so everyone USA almost become the enemy of like fair football, and it's not their doing. It's FIFA and it's Trump, and I actually have a little as I say, dirty secret. It's just, I actually wanted the USA to win because I put my first bet on at the tournament, and it was Norway, England, and USA. So while everyone was like, "Do you know what? We want Belgium to go through now because this is a farce," I was like, "Oh yeah."
Just for the big fellas back playing.
Yeah, and he didn't. But and then in terms of the game itself, like I mean, it's easy to say that it sort of like riled Belgium up and they wanted revenge and all of that. I think maybe just they found their football boots for the first time in this tournament and looked a coherent football team. I think USA, almost like the stage had got too much of them. Like they didn't offer anything at all. Where in sort of like previous rounds and earlier in the group stage, you were looking at them and thinking like they're actually very exciting here. Like their goal comes, against the run of play. It's a deflected free kick, and then just Belgium find their gear again.
What I think happens, Beth, you saw some Belgium whilst you were away.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, because they're a pretty dislikable outfit, I think, in a number of ways. But one of the things that happens, I think, that really helps Belgium early in the game is De Ketelaere, if that's how you pronounce it, De Ketelaere, gets a goal, and then suddenly, I saw some extended highlights, but I only saw highlights. But suddenly, then you couldn't keep him off the action. Yeah, and I thought he was really failing to impose himself on matches in the previous rounds, and then suddenly in this one, I think it just happens after he gets a goal, and we've seen it so often happen for forwards. They stick the ball in the back of the net, and the confidence goes from here to here. And I thought all of a sudden Belgium looked so much more coherent because he looked more coherent, and the way he integrated with his teammates helped. Yeah,
they've had a lot of problems really, Belgium, and I think a big one of them has been that they haven't had that real presence up front. I remember the first game, I think it was against Egypt, and Lukaku was on the bench, and and they just looked like they had absolutely no focal point. And then Lukaku comes on, and within like a minute they equalise. It's an own goal in the end, but it's, you know, thanks in large parts to Lukaku's movement. But yeah, I think they did look a lot more. Again, I've only watched the highlights, but they looked a lot more coherent. And I think, you know, for much of this tournament, they've looked like a team that is very much less than the sum of its parts. The sum of its aging parts, admittedly, you know, they have the golden generation very much has sort of, you know, a lot of them have left anyway, and I think the ones that remain are looking a little bit jaded. But yeah, I think last night, I mean, it's hard with the USA, because there's part of you that thinks is how much of it is have they been impacted by the circus that has been going on around them the last couple of days, and how much of it is they faced the first sort of decent opposition really at the tournament. But I do think it's a shame for them. I really do. I think, you know, like Craig said, I think that they've looked like a really exciting, fun team. Obviously not like a team that was going to go all the way, but a team that, again, the nation can get behind, can be proud of. And I think, you know, for a lot of the fans, it's been such a fantastic experience. It's been an eye-opening experience this summer to what the joys that football can bring, and even sort of watching the local news. I had a game in Seattle, and, you know, just all of the anchors were so excited and, you know, so proud of the team. And I think that's what this tournament should be remembered for from a USA perspective. But unfortunately, for a lot of people, it will be remembered for this. And again, like as Craig mentioned, that's not their own doing. And I thought it was quite nice. Rudy Garcia came out afterward and said, you know, Balogun had actually...
It's not the lad.
Yeah, Balogun had actually gone up to him and sort of apologised, and he'd made clear, you know, it's not you. The problem's not with you. It's, you know, it's all of the politics going on behind the scenes. So yeah, I think it is a shame for them. I think it was a moral victory, I suppose, for football. In a way, I think Cara said this, you know, it would have almost been interesting to see the USA win just so this saga continued to blow up in FIFA's face, and they'd have to address it. In a way, it's actually probably helped FIFA that the USA now are out, and that they didn't beat Belgium, because the legal repercussions, I imagine, would have been, you know, pretty unpredictable. So yeah, probably a moral victory, but I think it is a shame for the USA that this has blighted the tournament.
Absolutely. Listen, I'll run through some of your traffic and travel. Gareth Matthews in Sydney says that the traffic is free running down the Pacific Highway, but it's grey and gloomy. Sean Casey asks, where are the transfers? More on that to come. Steve Joyce, Craig, after last week's travel news, he turned up at Belfast Airport early on Sunday, and only him and his partner were in security, but the new bar set up, he says, was lovely.
In it, a builder.
There you go.
They made it like the fucking... They've got like a live band and everything playing it. Brilliant.
Excellent stuff there. Good to learn that about the way in which that works. Where are we? What else have we got here? The Foxes, risky moves being on. Terrible news. The Foxes have had the bins over in West Malling, so expect delays. Absolutely horrendous stuff. Natalie Mansfield's been on, and she says desperate to know Neil's thoughts on the update on Bob the Cat. Turns out he didn't go to the Royal Mail van in the sky after all. Natalie, if you want to believe that, like Danny, that's absolutely fine. What I'm saying to you is the same cat did not come back. It was a different cat. That cat's then more feral and more violent. And then that cat conveniently gets parcelled off to Preston off the justification as the sister of the cat. So I want to be absolutely spot on about this. I will go to my grave maintaining they were two different cats. Young Danny was happy. He went along with the story. And this is all that matters. We don't have to present this in front of Danny. You know, we need him to have enjoyed his life and believe that Bob shoots off now to Preston and has a lovely time. But we just need to remember it's two different cats.
I did like how he introduced a new character in the story, though.
Suddenly the sister Mary.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
But so Mary stays.
Yeah.
Young Danny's got a cat. We don't need to worry about Bob anymore, who has become a slightly different cat in terms of temperament, but has now gone to Preston. It's down to you how you sort of conceive of this. It's almost as though Bob did not accept that Mary was his sister, which would, you know, one can conclude they are not the one one and the same cat.
You've read this conspiracy on Facebook or something, haven't you?
No.
It's propaganda.
He's on the Reddit thread.
I just think it's the only thing that makes sense when one looks at all the facts in the round. It's the only thing that
You're
makes sense.
You're in like a lost cat group already. From the time you...
Of course, I'm an expert in the field.
Yeah.
Folky says temporary traffic lights just along from Fair Park Stadium and Motherwell Neal are causing havoc around Tim Hortons. I'm worried about that. Kevin Graham, hiya Kevin, says that there's no traffic problems for him this morning. He's working from home. So there we are indeed. Just letting you sort of know where we're up to with all of that as we're working all the way through. The Erasmus Bridge in Rotterdam, according to Balanced Opinion, is blocked. You've got to bear that in mind. Is blocked. We've got, speaking of matters that have come down to enormous conspiracy, Martin Fitzgerald's on now talking to me about the show he's going to do in Liverpool, his one-man show that he's warming up for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, about his book The Umbrella Man, which is about the conspiracies and the people and the characters that are bound around the JFK assassination. We'll be back in a minute with transfers. Neil Atkinson with Martin Fitzgerald, live shows. So let's start with the end, which is you're doing a run at the Edinburgh Festival.
The Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I think they like it to be known.
The Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
That's what it says in an email. So the 7th of August to the 29th of August. I think 22 performances in total. So if you're in Edinburgh, come along. The first 2 weeks or so, I'm on at 9:50 in the morning.
9:50 is frisky.
I know.
I've looked into getting there.
And then the third week, I'm on
at
back 11:50 in the morning.
Which is at least got a fighting chance.
9:50, it's not that bad. I think there's a lot of people there looking for things to do at 9:50. And at that time, you've got face painting, juggling, a bit of cabaret. And then you've got me talking about the JFK assassination.
I'd go for you off those options.
And look, if it doesn't work out, I could just paint me face and juggle something anyway. So
I mean, you're one of the. I think if I remember rightly, you're this country's 9th greatest juggler.
Yeah, I'm quite proficient on the juggling front.
So
I actually think I wouldn't do that at Edinburgh because that's more for up and comers.
Yeah, you're cheaping the art.
Juggling. Yeah. I wouldn't come in my juggling and put people off. Edinburgh Festival, The Umbrella Man and Other Stories by me. It's a spoken word show. It's not a comedy show, but there will be the occasional joke. But it's a good way to start the day, I think.
Yeah.
You've had your breakfast, whatever your drink of choice is. Come and see me talk about the assassination and the characters that saw it.
Well, the book is ultimately where this stems from, let's be clear. So The Umbrella Man, which is excellent and is available now, by the way, on top of everything else we're doing here, that one is available now. You are, part of where you ended up with the show is because you did the book, enjoyed the process of doing the book. You felt like there was something more to be garnered from it, and you want to go and take the opportunity to go to Edinburgh and do a live show that stems from the book.
A good friend of mine said that I would get sort of value from that because I would just kind of meet people directly. And as you know, writing a book can be quite a sort of solitary thing.
Yeah.
And then people read it in a very solitary way. And occasionally people reach out on social media or you meet people at book events and stuff like that. But I thought it'd just be a nice thing to go and do a spoken word show about it with people in the audience, and that there'd be an immediate value to that, which you don't often get with books. And also, I'm retired. I'm not doing anything else.
So you may as well play Edinburgh.
So I might as well do it. And a friend of mine was telling me about a guy called Charlie Connolly, who wrote a book about the shipping forecast. And he's turned that into like an entire UK tour where he plays, plays big venues. People, some people love the shipping forecast. It's like a fetish. And I thought, why not? I don't mind public speaking and all that sort of stuff. So I've got some slides. So if you've read the book before and the whole thing exists in your imagination, I'm going to take you through the photography of Dealey Plaza.
Amazing.
And occasionally point out the characters that are going to be part of the show. So you got Umbrella Man, Black Cap Man, Howard Brennan, Abraham Zapruder, the Babushka Lady, Mary Mormon. I'm a little bit of a character in it. Edinburgh, August, get along.
So that's Edinburgh. But before then, you're doing a warm-up show. One so far. There might be another one. I know you're trying to secure London.
I'm trying to do one in London and one in Nottingham. But for now, the only one that's confirmed, which I'm very pleased about, is at Teddy's in Liverpool.
Excellent.
Which it's in the downstairs bit. Now, I know if you've no doubt been to Teddy's a lot.
Yep.
It says upstairs for drinking, downstairs for dancing.
You want to be clear that's not the case for this live show.
Unless you want to.
Yeah.
But I don't know what beat you'll be dancing to. But I'll be doing a preview of my show on Thursday the 23rd at Teddy's at 7 o'clock. So it's kind of a bit of a work in progress. I haven't really written this show yet. It's sort of all up here. So it's just a case of me getting my timings right. And to acknowledge that the tickets are dead cheap. They're £3.
£3?
£3.
My God.
£3. Kev Walsh is coming.
Sorted.
Ian Salmon's coming.
Excellent.
It's already sold.
All the luminaries.
I know, all the big drinkers as well, which Teddies are very happy about. And they've got a gold sort of curtain behind where I'm doing it, which is a bit sort of Phoenix.
Have you got a screen though?
I've got a screen. I've got a projector and a screen. So it is going to be the Edinburgh show, but I might make a few mistakes, or I might overrun. So it's really for my benefit I'm doing this, but it's just handy that there's people there. And that's why I'm only charging £3.
£3?
£3? What do you get for £3?
Nowadays, these days.
Like a Freddo? Is that £3 now?
I feel they're at least £4.50 in the current climate.
So I'm doing a show cheaper than a Freddo.
That's true.
So, what
more can people ask? So it is on Thursday, the 23rd of July.
23rd of July at
It's
Teddy's.
in Teddy's. The upstairs at Teddy's is a great bar, by the way, so you can hang out there before or after.
Yeah.
Mostly after, I suspect, given what time it opens. But it's genuinely a great bar. It's a beautiful interior. I adore it. It's one of my favourite places to drink alone in the city, so you ever see me there, don't talk to me. But there is, there's a lot to be said for it. So you've got Teddy's, that's just said, Slater Street, slap bang central, Liverpool Central just around the corner, easy to get to, straight after work, loads of places to eat, £3.
£3?
£3.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
you might overrun, so they might get more than the people in Edinburgh get.
So don't sleep on that. As I say, a third have sold, and I haven't even done this bit yet.
No.
So who knows? And look, if it's busy, I might even add another one. And look, if I do, I'm going to keep it at £3.
Well,
I'm not going to do that, supply and demand thing. It's
It's
always going to be £3.
To see you in Teddy's.
Unless you come to Edinburgh.
Well, which one's is more?
In which case on one day it's £5 because they do a 2-for-1 thing. But normally it's a tenner, which isn't a lot for Edinburgh.
It's 2 Freddos.
And I might have 2 Freddos, and I'm still going to have to buy some paint in case I have to paint my face and juggle.
Yep.
So either way, you're not,
Yeah, the good people of Edinburgh are not being ripped off. It's very
we're not talking, Taylor Swift.
No.
I'm not. I think everyone knows I'm not Taylor Swift.
No, but she doesn't have a gold curtain.
No, she does not have a gold curtain.
I can't afford one.
Or slides, because she relies purely on her talent and her personality. I can't do that.
You need £4.
I'm hoping
face paint juggling.
Look at the slides. Don't worry about me. That's my show. But the easiest thing to do to keep abreast of all of this stuff is to.
I'm sure.
Is to follow me on social media on Instagram, 400 Blokes. So if I do add one in London or Nottingham, then I don't have to come up here and do this again. Not that I mind doing this, but that's the best way to keep it best.
And we'll share the link on all social media bits and pieces, and it'll be in the blurb of the breakfast wrap right now if you on YouTube, and you can go from there and see.
I love the breakfast wrap, but I made up I'm going to be on that. I mean, as an insert.
Yeah.
But it's the next best thing, I think.
It's
a show everyone's talking about.
I'm shocked and stunned, but it is good to see.
Yeah, you should take that to Edinburgh.
Let's see how we get on.
I'm on at 9:50. You could come on at 8:30.
I could do 8:30 to 9:30 every day in the Edinburgh
breakfast wrap in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Let's see if we can sort that out, but we charge
more
more
than
than
£3.
What do you think of that, Ash?
Up for it.
Martin Fitzgerald. See you later on. Excellent stuff from Martin. Brilliant to speak to him. If you can make any of the shows that he's doing there, do so. It will be an absolute pleasure. So I've got a question. I'm going to get Craig to talk about our live shows for a second, but whilst he's doing that, I'm going to let them think. There's a player who Ipswich have agreed a deal from Toulouse. He's called Emerson. He's Brazilian. It's Emerson with 2 N's. Which is a bit mad.
Is this the quiz?
This is the quiz. Emerson with 2 N's. Last season for Toulouse, according to Wikipedia, in 21 appearances. It's his only season at Toulouse. 21 appearances. He's played centre forward. 21 appearances. He scored 4 goals. What is the fee approximately that Ipswich have agreed for the Toulouse striker Emerson with 2 ends. So that in a second, you can think about it, Beth. In the meantime, Craig, our live shows, what are we up to?
So we've got Nashville on the 24th of July, which is the night before the game in Nashville.
Which theoretically might have Beth Lind upon, as we've got it penciled in off the back of what we just chatted about while Martin was on there.
Not theoretically, I think it's been signed, sealed, delivered. Yeah, up the edge. You got a little exclusive there. That's the first announcement of that one. 27th of July, which is 2 nights before the game in New York. That's at Carragher's in New York. 28th of July in Philadelphia the following evening, and then the 1st of August in Chicago, which is the night before the Chicago game. We'll have Keogh playing at each of them now, so Keogh will be on stage talking about the Reds and then on stage singing about the Reds afterwards, so it'll be a party. The AnfieldWrap.com/tall live for tickets, and hopefully see you there.
Hopefully so. Be fantastic if you can get down. Do come down and join us. Check it out. Should be fantastic on each of the evenings. An additional Lindup, guaranteed. What's the price? Emerson, 2 ends.
20 million.
20 million?
Probably something wild like 50.
Sky Sports News understands the fee, including add-ons, will be around a total of 26.6 million. There's also a sell-on clause in the agreement if it goes well for him.
How many did he score? 4?
4 and 21. Playing for Toulouse in League One. Maybe he's great. I mean, his whole career, according to Wikipedia, so I've got to be clear, I am just taking this from Wikipedia, his whole career he scored 6 goals.
What?
On the Wikipedia, he scored 6 goals.
Okay.
Now, there's a bit of contradictory information because it may well be that he did something for lower down when he was playing at Atletico Paranaense in Brazil and got a few more, but they've got him here as having 6 goals. They've also got him making 4 appearances for the Brazilian under-19s. Hasn't scored for them. 26 million quid, ladies and gentlemen. That's what 26 million pounds buys you if you are indeed Ipswich Town. Hull wants them as well, but
nice.
Ipswich have swooped. I mean, he's obviously we go their 3rd game of the season. He's scoring against the Reds after all this.
I'll clip this.
He's going to pin Atkinson's comments onto the dressing room wall off the back of all this.
He's going to do one of these celebrations.
Yeah, right in front of our end afterwards as it goes off. Unbelievable. How do we feel about Klopp taking the Germany job?
Love it. I'm so into it. There's only a number of jobs, certain number of jobs that I could see him move into where it wouldn't destroy my soul. Like having to see like like an ex-partner with someone else. Like that's how it would feel with him. I'd get jealous. But Germany feels right. Like it just feels like the next step for him, and it feels like one that I'll get really excited about around the next Euros, and then following that the World Cup. I can see him sort of leading Germany out at the Hill Dickinson. Can you see that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I just think
he
everyone
hasn't graced the Hill Dickinson yet.
No, he
Mo
hasn't.
Salah scored a goal at the Hill Dickinson in a Merseyside derby.
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp should win a game at the Hill Dickinson because that's what football royalty does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think he's had a big enough time off now, hasn't he? Like he's had a big enough rest. He's had too much fun.
I think he'll keep having fun.
I think he will as well.
Just move around, watch a few games. Come and watch Florian Wirtz at Anfield, wave.
Yeah. But I just, from a football point of view, and seriously, I think it looks like a team that just needs someone to come in like him, like this big personality, and just alleviate a lot of the pressure, and to sort of like bring them all together. And they've got like a bit of a funny squad, Germany, where you're looking at it, and you've got like some Musiala and Wirtz, and so. In certain areas they promise so much, but then you look across the team and they're not quite the Germanys that you've sort of grown up with. They're not this sort of titan that you feel as if would be a machine to come up against. But I think what Jurgen can do is come in and just give it like just a sense of rejuvenation and to elevate the players that I've just mentioned there to sort of the status that you felt as if maybe a couple of years ago you'd be looking at them and thinking like the Musialas and the Wirtz are going to light up this World Cup, and they don't really. And I think it'll just be good fun for everyone getting to see him again on the sidelines, and now I sort of support Germany at international tournaments if he's the manager, really.
That happened. Arne Slot's linked. To Holland, it looks like Jurgen will happen. Slot could go either way. But both of them could indeed be at the Euros in 2028, which is just a bit mad, really.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope they both have a lovely time. That's my, that's my presiding emotion. And yeah, I mean, certainly the Klopp one, but even to an extent, I suppose the Slot one, both feel or have felt a bit inevitable. Certainly Klopp, because it has sort of felt like that was the one job that looked.
Do you think Klopp likes, almost in a way, I don't mean likes because he wanted Germany to win, but to me one of the reasons why I think he'll leap at this one is it's now a couple of tournaments where they've massively underperformed, and I just sort of wonder whether or not he's coming in and he can almost have a bit of an attitude, because there's so much we think there's like loads goes on in England. There's as much, if not more. Like, I actually think England is one of the more behind the nation sort of media setups than a lot of the other European ones.
The Dutch hate
everyone. They hate everyone involved.
Yeah.
The Germans, I think, are very much on everyone's back a lot of the time. But I sort of wonder whether or not, Beth, one of the things that might appeal to him is it's gone that badly now for a couple of periods, and a couple of good managers as well, that he can almost go in and go, I'm doing what the fuck I want. And we're underdogs, which I think he'll like, because he can say we're underdogs because we haven't achieved anything for a while. We might still be Germany, but we're underdogs. So I think all of that energy is, I think, another reason why I think Jurgen will have gone, yeah, I'll have a big bowl of this right now, because if I have a good 4 years, I can make it feel mega for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, obviously, what he can do as a coach is one thing, but I think just that ability to galvanise and to instill an identity in a team and a belief and this collective conviction, and like you say, maybe really harness that underdog thing, it is massive. I think everybody in Germany will, and I imagine is, pretty excited about it. I feel a bit sorry for Nagelsmann. I don't in a lot of ways. I think he's he's quite a cold fish, isn't he, I think, and but I think for him it's probably been a little bit like what it was like for Slot for a lot of last season, where Alonso was available, when Alonso became available, and it was just like this sort of shadow in the background that was sort of constantly looming over him.
Literally as well, by the way, on the side of the pitch.
And criticising his decisions. So I do have an element of sympathy, because I think for any manager that must be so hard when you know that there's this guy who's probably itching to take the job. Is quite critical of you, and everybody is sort of wanting him to take the job as well. So I do have a degree of sympathy there, but yeah, they have underperformed. They underperformed in Qatar as well, didn't they? And yeah, it's a bit of a weird team, like Craig said. I think they do have a couple of fantastic players, but equally that they're not sort of star-studded all over the pitch. So I think he'll have his work cut out to make them a real force, but I think if anyone can do that, it probably is Jurgen.
Tell you what, Wirtz is going to have it tough, isn't he? Iraola's training, and then he goes, a little bit of respite, good international. Klopp's got them doing the bleep test or whatever
from minute one. Yeah, every single time they come, loads of them not going. Just going, can't be doing that. Breaking news, which is unlikely, not Liverpool orientated, obviously. Newcastle have agreed a fee for a teenage midfielder from Ajax, 20 million plus 3 million on bonuses for Sean Stoyer going to Newcastle. It looks like that looks like it's going to be pulling together.
I think it's going to be quite a lot of that. We're going to see sort of these like 20 million, 30 million punts now, because we've seen the market inflate and become ridiculous. Yeah. Like, Liverpool have got the work cut out in terms of how much they've got to do.
He's 18 and Newcastle have also bought the lad Bazuana Toure for 40 million.
I think could go on to be really, really good.
Well, I'm surprised Liverpool were linked and then it disappeared, that one, but they paid 40 million for him. Yeah. But he's had a couple of seasons at Hoffenheim, so I agree with you.
They're almost like, you might see players dipping down into the kind of players that Brighton were bringing over and taking a punt on, and within 2 seasons you see them do really well. I think we might see a little bit more of that, because, as I say, Liverpool have got so much work to do, and then suddenly midfielders who you would previously have expected to cost sort of 55 million are now 110. It's ridiculous.
Indeed. Listen, we're going to do a clip from Gutter, and then we're going to be back. We're going to talk about the Reds. I had a big chat about them on the free show as well yesterday. Catch that if you haven't. It's not gone off yet, because nothing's changed from a Liverpool point of view, and that's one of the things that we were hugely concerned about within that show. But in Gutter, they were talking about Barcola. We're going to come back. We'll have a bit of a chat about Barcola, but then we're going to get into where Liverpool find themselves with Beth and with Craig.
If you think about PSG, and the talk is Akliouche that they're very interested in. The talk is that Diamandi is quite far along. But Barcola's quite within his rights to think, well, where am I going? And then there's also the fact that the PSG have come out and said, well, he's going to cost around £116 million, which is quite...
Well, they say north of Anderson, don't they? Well, the Anderson mark, as it's going to become to be known.
Right, and that's a starting point, isn't it? You come down from there. We're not, if we go in from him, we're not going to pay that amount of money. I can imagine that Arsenal wouldn't pay that amount of money. I feel like Morgan Rogers is probably more of an Arsenal player than Bradley Barcola. When I think of Barcola, I think a really exciting, great with the ball at his feet. Not massively involved with link-up play, although he has been for France, which has been good to see. But he's very Liverpool in that sort of, in transition, counter-attacks, the pace that he's got, driving to the byline, great with the ball at his feet. Good finishing.
Is he an aggressive presser? What's he like without the ball? I've not seen enough of him. I've seen the YouTubes where he looks great scoring and beating people and being fast. But what's he like against the ball from your research?
Yeah, they're not going to show that on YouTube, are they?
No, it's too dull.
I mean, he's got the tenacity and he's got the stamina about him to leg it around the pitch, I think. And obviously with Iraola coming in, he likes to switch these positions, and he likes to bring on a second man at sort of 60 or 70 to save legs, because he will want those two pressing. We know that when they signed Munoz, that was a big, huge factor, that his pressing was fantastic. And all these sort of profiles that we're looking at seem very similar. It's just a shame that under Diomande and under Barcola, there's just this sort of dearth of nothingness before we get to the next sort of name. So I think that this is the one that Liverpool probably want to get done. And, he's not come out and said that he wants to stay. I think he probably does want to play for a move. I think if it is done, it's going to be one of those ones that's probably done late on, which is quite annoying, but them's the breaks.
It's the breakfast wrap. Just making jokes about Rob there in the break. Hope you enjoyed that little bit from the gutter as it's wearing on. Beth, let's talk about Barcola. It'd be great if Liverpool could get him. I don't think that it's impossible for Liverpool to get him, but my worry with the way Liverpool go about things, because I think there is constantly the desire to buy excellence, and I don't think that should be necessarily frowned upon. But my worry is that Liverpool end up with too many eggs in the Barcola basket when there's the possibility, firstly, he stays at PSG, either with a new contract or without. There's the possibility he goes elsewhere, Arsenal, maybe even Bayern Munich. I still think could be a live runner and rider for him. Liverpool just do all the best work from a position of strength, and at the minute they're just in a position of weakness, and that's the truth of the matter. Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, it was, saw a few people say when Diomande, I mean, obviously it's the noise at the moment is that he's going to stay at Leipzig. I'm sure if PSG pay a certain amount, then he will go there. But when sort of the noise came out that he was leaning toward PSG, I saw a few people say, it's embarrassing that he's gone there, and you just got to shrug your shoulders and say, well, it's not. It's like you say, Liverpool are not as attractive a proposition now as they were 12 months ago, and that, we know that changes so quickly in football. Next summer it could be a completely different story, but you do have to accept, a little bit that this summer Arsenal are probably above Liverpool in the pecking order, and that could impact, the Barcola thing. Although I think Liverpool's biggest selling point to him, or to indeed any forward that they're looking to attract, is that there's a chance that you come in as a starter. As the main man, as someone that everyone's excited about, so I think that is probably Liverpool's biggest sort of asset in terms of attracting Barcola. But yeah, it is. I am slightly concerned at this point, because the summers that Liverpool, obviously you'd like them to do a little bit more, but you sort of think, well, they can get away with 2 or 3 additions. This summer they need 5 or 6, and they've got one in so far, who I think could go on to be a really good player. And I like the Munoz deal purely because, the amount of money that is involved in the market at the moment, the way it's inflated. I think taking a punt on somebody who could go on to be really talented is probably the way home in a lot of cases. But he is unproven in the Premier League, and so you do feel like they need to sign one sort of superstar attacker. And Barcola looks like he is that sort of the main one. So yeah, I'm worried. I think they need to have a busy couple of weeks. You would like, ideally, that whoever is signed is involved in some part of pre-season. Now, even if it was Barcola, that might not be possible, because it looks like France are probably going to go all of the way, or close to. So yeah, it is slightly concerning. There isn't an awful lot of noise about transfers, but some of Liverpool's best work has been done when it's come out of the blue. So, I'm sure there will be cogs turning behind the scenes.
I think the best thing he could do, Craig, is get a couple in, get someone else who plays wide in, get someone who's going to cover number 9. I'm really worried about the number 9 position. I'm going to keep saying it on shows because I think the way you get the best out of Isak is by being able to pick his games a little bit and manage him a little bit, not tons. He's got to be a grown up. He's coming to play for the biggest, for one of the biggest teams in the world. So there's responsibilities around that, but I don't think we can be hanging on until Ekitike gets back. So I think if they could go and get a couple, and if one was wide and one was central, you've still got room to do Barcola at a later point. And if it comes together, my issue with all of it is Josh Williams was, as he always is, really good on the free show where he talked about Liverpool in the past. One of the best bits of recruitment is being able to say no to people, but Liverpool have put themselves in a position where, because they need players, they've got. I think the sooner they can pick a couple up, if you know what I mean, they're back into a world where they can go, we're only going to go for the one that we want. And as time ticks on, the other bonus as well is if they're bringing in a couple that could do with a bit of coaching. Well, they're not going to have Munoz for the pre-season. They're probably going to get to the semi-finals. So you end up in this situation where you're not going to get Munoz. So you need to have. He's going to need some coaching. If they're going to need a couple who need a bit of coaching, the sooner they're back in pre-season, the better. I think time's taken on. I think Liverpool supporters are right to be concerned.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing I would say is that the season starts later this time, and so if I'm Liverpool, I'm saying, well, actually, whilst we're into July, it's in a normal season, it's mid-June, if that makes sense. I am sort of wary. I think when you get the Munoz deal done, you feel like, okay, so there's going to be business done during this World Cup. They've got one in. They obviously have Xhaka as well, which you almost forget about because of it happening in January. But I think you're looking at that team and thinking they're going to need 6, 7, maybe 8 players. And my biggest worry of it all really actually is that the Liverpool hierarchy look at it and they don't feel like they need as much as what we believe. That's always my worry, that they maybe look at the centre-back options and think, well, we signed Leone last season and he's going to be fully fit, and we've signed this new Xhaka and we've got Van Dijk. I still think we need more there. I think we need a right back, but then they might be thinking, well, Bradley will be back at some stage during the start of the season, but I just think that's a huge risk. And as you say, on the number 9, I think all of the evidence suggests that at some stage Isak will break down, we'll have an injury, we'll be unavailable for a couple of games. And what you don't want to be doing is getting to that autumn period where the games are coming thick and fast and we've got no number 9, and suddenly Munoz is having to play there and he's only just settling in, and then that's affecting how he settles in this league and his output. And then all of these decisions have a knock-on effect somewhere else. And we saw that so many times last season. We saw how, having no one really to compete with Gakpo has a knock-on effect on Gakpo, which then has a knock-on effect on what's happening in the centre. It just all it all becomes a problem for each other. So I think if you're going to
end up with wide players who aren't going to be goal scorers, you need to make sure you can pick number 9s who are goal scorers. There's different ways to play football. There's not only one way to play football, but you need to make sure, and the best way to ensure you keep Isak fit is to have someone to rotate him with. So I think you can. So therefore, for me, this is just there's a virtuous circle here of how you solve this. You go and say, all right, we're going to have wide players who are slightly more provider than goal scorer, but therefore we need to make sure that we've got goal scorers so we can keep the brilliant goal scorer as fit as humanly possible, and then have another goal scorer for when he can't play, and then Ekitike can come back, and that feels like it gets better again. And Ekitike, it's worth saying, played behind Marmoush in Frankfurt, so Ekitike can play. Then you can alternate Ekitike and Wirtz, which feels unbelievably exciting as well, if you know what I mean. Suddenly you're able to say, all right, we've gone from being a side that's got tons of quality, goal scoring quality in wide areas, to one that's got an unbelievable amount of it in the middle of the pitch. There's different ways to play footy, and so I'm fine with that, but I feel a little bit at the minute where I just want Liverpool to commit and go, all right, that's what we are now. That's what we are. We're now a team that's about 9 and 10, and we're going to have great 9 and 10 options for every single game, but then you've got to go and recruit them.
And also the thing we know about the new manager is the intensity. We're going back to a way of playing that we all want, which is that intensity that we can feed off in the crowd, but that'll have ramifications too in terms of players' availability and how much they can play, and what that intensity does around injuries and so on. We're not entirely sure around that at the moment. It's going to need a big squad. It's going to need options. The best Liverpool teams that I've ever watched have always had options, and the reason why. Go on.
No, just in comments, LFC David says, well, it feels like we're waiting on Areola to see the squad before making moves. And Beth, one of my things with that is, I can see in a couple of areas, centre mid being an example, you can have that conversation and make that argument. There are no forwards. There are no forwards. There's not going to be forwards. Gakpo and Munoz are going to take a little bit longer. He's actually going to take a bit longer to get back. But there are no forwards. So he's not, what's he waiting to see? There's one he's already bought himself anyway, but he's not going to be around. So I've got sympathy for the idea in a couple of areas. He might be waiting to see, have a little look. That makes a ton of sense. What can Harvey Elliott do? Makes a ton of sense. But Harvey Elliott's not going to play number 9. No. Harvey Elliott's not going to be a pacey wide option for you. So, there's no reason to wait on looking at that. And it looks to me as though Liverpool look like they're waiting for something, and as I say, I'm growing increasingly anxious.
Yeah, I agree. I think that argument that he's assessing the squad, I think that's probably something the club would argue that's what he's doing, and he's waiting for pre-season. But like you say, there isn't anything for him to assess really in forward areas, and it's been so clear for so long that Liverpool were going to have to sign forwards this summer. They were going to have to sign,
or one in January.
Yeah, a real top quality wide player. That has been, clear as day since Luis Diaz left, really, last summer. They knew there was a World Cup. Obviously, granted, they didn't know they'd be changing the manager, but like you say, they
didn't know Ekitike would get injured.
They didn't know, yeah, of course. But still, they needed a wide player. They needed a Mo Salah replacement. Even if Mo had stayed for another season, they need someone to come in and provide that quality out wide and sort of plan for his transition. So, yeah, I think it's, and the same sort of for right back as well. I think that they need a right back. I completely agree with Craig. I think putting it all on Conor Bradley is totally unfair almost to him, because he's had so many injury problems, and obviously such a severe injury problem with his knee that he can't be expected to come back and be playing every single week. So then you're relying on Frimpong, and again, maybe that's one thing that the club might say is, well, Iraola wants to see what Frimpong does at right back, but they need a right back. They need a right back. They need a number 6, I think, or somebody who can add something in midfield. So yeah, and I also think that, the issue is, at Bournemouth, Iraola had that time to, going into the season to really sort of fine-tune his squad and get them up to speed and get them used to his training. Now, there's going to be an element of that at Liverpool, and people might have to adjust expectations, but he's not going to get away with not winning any of his first 10 games at Liverpool. So the squad needs to be a certain level of equipped and prepared to go in and start the season relatively strongly. So yeah, I'm concerned. You would hope that there maybe are things that are going on in the background. I'm sure there are that we don't know about yet. But it does feel like time is ticking.
Okay, excellent stuff from Martin and from everyone involved in Gutter. Ash behind the camera, Craig and Beth here for Breakfast Wrap. Slightly delayed to start with, but the absolute business when we got stuck into it. More of this sort of thing, summing up the quarter-final picture in the World Cup. Hopefully some Liverpool news, some more transfer news coming tomorrow in general. Tyrick George has gone to the Tricky Blues. You know what I mean? People can do transfers at this time of year. It is possible, but that's where we find ourselves. Someone said something very nice about the live shows in the comments as well, so do check them out if you haven't done so already, that we are going there. Where was it? AB6 series, looking forward to the US tour. Appreciate the affordability of the ticket prices and taking the time to put live shows on over there. We can't wait. We'll see you in Nashville, but we'll see you again tomorrow.
It's a big summer, it's a hot summer, it's going to be a summer of transfers. Liverpool have got a fair bit to do over the course of this summer. We know the World Cup's going on, but Liverpool have already dipped into the transfer market, and they will do again. When they did dip, the Anfield Wrap came alive with tons of reaction shows letting us all know about our new signing. If you sign up to the Anfield Wrap either through YouTube or through our app or through the website theanfieldwrap.com/subscribe, you can come in and be part of the journey, setting Liverpool up with a new manager, a host of new players and a new start going into next season.